You're listening to Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marci Persky. In this installment, when we heard the news that the purveyors of a whole bunch of cryptocurrency were actually selling something that is now slightly less valuable than a year's supply of gummy bears, we can't exactly say it broke our hearts. Also, if you were looking at a polyamorous or polygamous relationship, what kind of a mate would come in handy? Have you ever texted the wrong person?
Oh, yeah, many times.
Yes.
Fortunately, I've never texted them anything nasty.
Well, my 90-year-old mother's caregiver was just sent the link to record for this podcast. So, and there you go. Welcome to my life. What's really weird is that she's so amenable. She said, okay. Like, dude, don't you think you should maybe ask why I'm sending you a link and dialing you up? I guess this is the same feature that allows her to deal with my 90-year-old mother. So, because if you can put up with random texts from people you almost never see saying that we're about to dial you up and not be thrown by any of that, I suppose you can handle anything.
Well, I remember back in the good old days with the very first the first incarnation of what would eventually turn into a VPN. And
Yes.
you would have, and I worked for United Press International for many years. Back at the beginning, we had this system where we could communicate with each other through it. It wasn't email and it wasn't texting, but people would always send like the wrong messages out or send it company wide, where you're saying, I really hate so-and-so. So-and-so is a big pain in my butt, blah, 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 blah. And that was like my biggest paranoia for 30 years was that I would send and something mean about somebody over the VPN, which I never did, but
I will call people just to say mean things. I call them just to say mean things. I will literally say, I do not wish to put this in an email, and then I will call them up and say mean things.
My mom told me at a very young age, the one thing that I remember that she pounded into my head, and I was probably 6 months old, she said, never write anything down that you don't want someone to read.
I told you, I send all the love letters to my husband and birthday cards that say love me just in case we're ever divorced.
Yeah.
And I think it's wise never to put anything at all in writing. Oh, speaking of putting things in writing, I feel like dancing at the prospect of the lead cryptocurrency bro being arrested in the Bahamas. And I don't care when people listen to this podcast. If you listen to this podcast 6 months from now and he's still sitting in a Bahamian jail, you can do a dance again. And Sam Bankman-Fried is not my problem because I never spent a dime on crypto.
Me either. And I never would.
Right. And here's the thing that will make you feel most festive. When people who make you feel stupid or try to make you feel stupid get their comeuppance, it's the same feeling you'd have if you saw a news story that there was now a full-fat premium ice cream with 0 calories. You savor it. I'm savoring it just that way. Because, as we've mentioned on this podcast before, it made no sense.
No, I don't understand any of it. And I'm laughing at all these people now that are filing suits against all this big line of celebrities that endorsed all this weirdo crypto stuff.
Well, you hope that there's a general consensus among judges that you don't get compensation for being an idiot.
Being stupid.
Right. You don't get paid back for being a moron.
It's like, yes, I agree 100%.
And you're still not reading about a wave of humility washing through these crypto bros, other than Bankman-Fried doing his own personal mea culpa about how, gee, he should have been paying better attention. And to be fair to him, it's not easy to pay good attention when a lot of your time is spent lining up luxury properties to buy for yourself or your family members or the person who cleans your cat's litter box.
Yeah.
So, crypto bros, just be willing to stand up and say, I was a credulous buffoon. And then maybe I'll feel a little bit bad for you. But I don't think so. So,
I don't know. They're comparing him to like Bernie Madoff.
well, I loved the statements from what do you call the the forensic accountant they sent in there?
Yeah, they send in CSI crew.
I may be misquoting here, but I believe he called it something like embezzlement, plain and simple.
I was reading all these charges. He not only it's not only embezzlement, but he also, I want to know what political campaigns he made all these donations to under fake names.
Yeah, he says he gave just as much he gave publicly to the Democrats and he gave with dark money to the Republicans, Bankman-Fried says. And then he peeves me off even further by saying, because the media are all liberals, and so if you give to the Republicans, the media will come after you, whereas if you give to the Democrats, they won't. I would just like to point out that both the liberal and conservative media are coming right after you right now, Mr. Bankman-Fried.
Yes, embezzlement
regardless,
is illegal in both parties.
That's right. You speak the truth. Embezzlement is illegal in both parties. I mean, all the choice quotes. One of the district attorneys said, wait a minute, they've charged him with fraud and misrepresentation, by the way.
Oh, he's got so many charges against him.
The DA said, to anyone who has participated in wrongdoing who has not yet come forward, and here's the quote, I would strongly encourage you to come see us before we come see you. You know, in general, I think that's probably good advice. If you know you've participated in the wrongdoing and the head of your whole company is now sitting in a Bahamian jail, probably a good idea to pick up the phone and call your local FBI or somebody.
Well, you know, I actually spent all morning watching Dog the Bounty Hunter.
What?
And
This is what you do with your morning?
Today was cast off day.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Could you get down to get your cast off?
Yes, I did. It's still snowing, but Frankie came and got me and took me down. The cast is off, but my whole arm feels really weird. So I just decided whatever came on the TV first was what I was going to sit and watch. And it was Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Oh, now that would make me get up and change the channel. I'm sorry, no.
Oh, it did. That's how
bad it is?
Traumatic.
Let me see cast off.
These are a few stitches on the back.
And are you practicing your regal wave?
On the front.
That's revolting. I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
But the thing about the regal wave, you can practice it on behalf of Sam Bankman-Fried when he comes back to the United States and has to greet
him at the airport.
Yeah, it has to greet all the people who he fleeced for billions of dollars. But again, how sorry
what about his goofy girlfriend? She was like all part of that too.
Oh, with their
with the giant glasses,
their polyamorous relationship.
Yeah, yes, which is another thing that I just can't really wrap myself around.
Every time I hear polyamorous relationship, open marriage, sister wives,
it's all called cheating.
Well, it's called cheating. It's also called lighting a very long fuse.
I guess.
Very long fuse. I mean, how I just saw today, I would care. I don't know why they fed me this. Another Sister Wife is leaving the Sister Wives franchise.
And they live out here in Flagstaff.
Oh, good for them. And then the fat wife, and I say this as a fat wife myself, the fat wife is still there, and they have a platonic relationship.
You know what?
He's such an ass.
Such imagine being married to 2, let alone 4 men at the same time. One is enough.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't work out well in the Bible either most of the time. This is the thing. Like, all these guys are like, well, it says in the Bible. Let me tell you something. We had that Bible first, and we got rid of plural marriage long before you guys resurrected it, and we had a darn good reason. And this show normally just doesn't go anywhere near religion. But I can tell you, if you want to revert to the Old Testament for your justification for plural marriages, just take a look at how well that actually worked out, even back then, before you could get to know somebody on the internet.
And I suppose if you can have like one husband who fixes stuff, one husband who can like juggle money around, one husband that's, maybe cut your hair for you.
No husbands that are Sam Bankman-Fried.
That's true.
One husband with table manners would have been nice.
Table manners.
I like that. I could just swap out my regular husband when I want to go out to dinner. Like the one who puts on my coat and holds the car door and can eat properly with a knife and fork and doesn't say things with a mouthful of French toast. That if I were going to do plural marriage, my second husband would be the husband with all the good manners.
I had to yell at my husband this morning as we came home from getting this cast off, and they actually put like this really thick brace on my arm, and I took it off because it was bugging me. But I will put it back on.
The dog is going to eat it.
And I hid it from the dog, but I couldn't get the door open from the car. He just gets out and slams his door. And I said, Frankie, I can't get the door open. And he said, well, I have to pee.
Okay.
That was the response.
That's just awful. I took the spousal unit to opening night at a local theater of some reputation. I did have a small victory. We were heading there, towards curtain time, so I insisted that he pay for parking, which typically he would rather burst into flame than do that. But he did it. But then I think to get me back, I had a heavy coat and a bag, and I turned, as you would normally turn to expect a well-brought-up husband to help you with your coat. And he just looked at my back like, what? And then
he didn't say I have to pee.
No, he didn't. And then at the end of the play, I said, okay, now you're going to help me with my heavy coat. And so I handed him my coat, and he held it out sideways.
I have this vision of you cartwheeling into your coat sideways.
In the theater.
Yes, in the theater.
Yeah, I could
Sign
see
her
that.
up.
Yeah, I'm just gonna bend completely to the side and put this on. So when we got home, I made him practice helping me on and off with my coat a few times. And I finally said to him, it's been 30 years we've been together, 27 years of marriage. And don't you think your life would be more fun and easy and pleasant if we didn't have this conversation every time we go someplace where I have to put on a heavy winter coat? And he looked at me and he said, you have a point.
But what fun would that be?
Yeah, I don't know. So if I were going to have a plural marriage, that's what I would do.
A coat hanger.
Yeah, the heck with the bedside ability. I just want a husband with.
I can send you a bag of plastic hangers if you want.
So he can hang up my coat?
Yeah.
No, see, according to the spousal unit, anything that's not a hanger is where you put your coat. Step stool, banister, dining room chair. Yeah. That's anything with a hanger is a coat repellent, also a shirt repellent. It's like there's a force field around every hanger in our house.
A force field.
Yeah. It's like if he brings, those dog fences, the wireless dog fences, where if your dog goes near your property boundary, the dog goes, "Ow!"
Yeah, the dog gets a zap.
Yeah, I think something happened to the spousal unit where he put a coat one time near a hanger and something happened. Right, and now he can't. He just cannot do it. He's incapable. Just
You know what? I still need my husband to do a whole bunch of crap for me
so don't
because my
say.
right arm
Yeah,
still doesn't work.
don't say a
So
word.
I'm not going to say anything. I love him to the end of the earth, and I'm glad that he pees. That's what I have to say.
All very important attributes for a spouse.
Oh, very important.
If you've made it this far, chances are you've been enjoying Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast, in which case you might also like my book, She Said What, A Life on the Air. You can find that at your neighborhood independent bookstore or on Amazon. Marci and I really appreciate your good reviews wherever you care to leave them. Your kind words help the podcast grow. Thanks.